एक तो भाई पन्नू की बात कर लेते हैं भाई. पन्नू में मार लगनी चाहिए भाई. पन्नू का क्या सीन है?
See, I've always held Pannu's a raw agent, boss.
You think he's a raw agent?
Yeah.
Not even a CIA agent?
No, because he's such a joke.
He is a joke. But he's bro.
Yeah,
मेरे को मन करता है उसे मारूं.
tell me who's going to take him seriously.
भाई यार मैं तेरे को बताऊं, I was speaking to this Canadian Indian fellow who's basically white but his dad's Indian. वो मेरे को कह रहा भाई मैं कनाडा से हूँ, मेरे 100 पंजाबी दोस्त हैं, उसमें से 2 या 3 ही खालिस्तान की बात करते हैं. खालिस्तान is a minority movement even in.
But the rest are terrorized into openly supporting Khalistan even if they don't do so in private. I'll tell you why. Ordinary Punjabi boys, nobody from the rich families is migrating to Canada. It's all the poor families migrating out there.
Right.
When they land up there, they're socially awkward. In India, they socially awkward Punjabi boy to exist ही नहीं करता है because he's a normal village boy who gets along with everybody in the village and everybody 100 villages around है.
Right,
ठीक
right,
है?
right.
उसको लड़की मिल जाएगी, उसको लोकल नौकरी कुछ मिल जाएगा,
खेती कर लेगा
या ड्रग्स चाहिए तो ड्रग्स भी मिल
जाएंगे. हाँ.
Now, he goes to Canada and he's completely socially isolated. His dependence on social structures grows exponentially.
Agreed.
And who controls all the social structures out there? The same criminal gangs that are running the gun and drug racket here.
So the social structures there and the gun and drug rackets here. Acha.
So, and this is why rap has developed majorly in Punjab, because rap culture is always used to justify drug and gun culture even in America.
Right.
What are most of the Sikhs out there? Truck drivers.
Fair, okay.
The means of transport, the hinterland, the market, the social control required, the legal lacuna in both the countries required. It's like the perfect setting. Khalistan today is essentially a gun and drug racket with a made up social, secessionist cause in order to claim political protection for organized crime.
So the political and social cause is like this umbrella that distracts people from the actual bullshit, which is a drug and gun racket to make some people richer.
Correct.
Because bro, I'll tell you what.
Now, what has happened there is NGOism, fantastic to raise funds and shit.
Right.
You do social control, you say everybody has to contribute money so that it goes towards our oppressed brothers in Punjab.
Right.
Who controls that? The Gurdwaras.
Right.
Who controls the Gurdwaras? All the extremists. It's another source of funding. It's another source of hiding drugs. Because you will not raid a religious place as easily as you'll raid a house. It is chronic out there. The sheer number of Punjabis who I see are completely terrorized into submission by these Khalistanis is insane.
In the West.
And I know this personally from Australia, though it didn't happen to me personally.
Right.
When I moved from Port Douglas to Melbourne.
When?
2006? No, 2000.
Well, sometimes I think you are a raw agent because you've lived, like, I don't know nothing about your history.
I've lived in all kinds of places. Ab main kya karoon? Ab dekho, when I moved from Port Douglas to Melbourne in, I think, 2005-06, I moved, my college was in a place called Carnegie, a suburb called Carnegie. And I was staying at a suburb called Marambina. Well, and what happened out there was it had a Tamil store. The main Tamil store was in Dandenong, much further down, the same line, but
different suburb.
Yeah. Anyway, so I go there and I'm like, yay, finally a Tamil store. Port Douglas mein to kuch bhi Tamil nahi hai. So I'm like, yay, Tamil store, let's go buy shit. And I go up to the shopkeeper and start talking in Tamil, and he's just stunned. Like, why is he stunned? Like, it's not like all Tamils are dark or anything, and not particularly fair either. I could totally pass off as Tamil. About, I don't remember how long it was, but in the middle of my shopping, because I was going crazy, he suddenly comes up to me very quickly and he says, sir, don't speak in Tamil out here. Where are you staying? So I gave him my address. He said, you know, the previous people staying there were Tamil, and you know what happened to them. And then he just ran off. And I pretended nothing had happened. I checked and I called up my realtor and everything. And she finally told me what had happened. This guy had been Tamil and the LTT had shown up and they had regularly extorted money out of him, and that was a racket in that area.
The LTTs?
Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam, Prakhar and
Oh, right,
Sri
okay.
Lankan
LTT Sri
terrorists.
Lankan Tamil. Huh.
So I realized how much they can extort emigre communities like that.
Huh.
And this is what the LTT was doing in Australia. This is what they were doing in Canada. This is what they were doing in Norway, and this is what they were doing in UK. Okay, they were terrorizing Tamils into paying them money, or at least coming out in support of rallies and shit like that. Now, that being the case, how do you justify the fact that normal people in Punjab who are no way radicalized or terrorists go to Canada and all end up becoming radical? It's social compulsion. And the problem with multiculturalism in Canada is it treats them as not equal in the law, that somehow you're allowed to be violent in your community and social scuffles and intimidation is a cultural thing, and it gives the terrorists an upper hand out there to completely dominate and control Punjabi Sikh people who immigrate out there.
It's almost like a mafia then.
It basically is. It's a human smuggling racket superimposed on a human smuggling racket, which has now become a political control racket, which Justin Trudeau is very dependent on for votes.
For votes. That's very obvious.
And one that is largely funded and was initially set up to cover up for organized crime in Indian Punjab.
So, the Punjabis I'd met, great guys, had always got a conflict in their head about being, whether they were from Punjab, India, or whether they were from Khalistan, because their parents had migrated right at the cusp of, the 84 riots, or like a little before that and so on. So, I always felt like these were aggrieved families who'd moved, and they'd carried with themselves this, one injury, this trauma, and also to some degree this dream of having an independent state. And I've always felt, maybe I'm too practical, maybe I'm too stupid, but I've always felt like Kashmir or Punjab trying to get an independent state between India and Pakistan is a false sort of idea. Like, you were never going to get there. Even if you do, you're going to be the base for terrorism to happen, right? But I didn't know that there were new
There are genuine believers in all of this,
right,
but they're the deluded ones who immigrated when they're kids, and their memory of the homeland is fossilized at that point of time.
Right, yes, exactly. They still think that India is that.
But much more of the immigration has happened since the normalization, in fact.
Right.
And it's a combination where the majority, in fact, has migrated after normalization, who are terrorized by people who migrated, who are forced into a memory that is ossified by people who migrated during the period of terror, and are controlled by people who are essentially drug and gun dealers who need social control.
So this Nijjar fellow, he was part of this.
Of course.
He was one of those gun runners and drug runners. And was he killed by Indian agents?
No.
No?
Boss, we don't do this shit because, I don't think people realize this, but systemically, there's been a huge thing against covert ops for a very long time.
Globally?
No, in India. Because, we tried creating Bhindranwale in order to bring down. Indira Gandhi and Gyani Zail Singh. They created Bhindranwale to weaken the Akalis, and look how badly it blew up in their faces.
Agreed.
Rajiv Gandhi, Indira Gandhi again created the LTTE, which Rajiv Gandhi supported, and look where that ended up.
Right.
So we realize that this is not terribly smart, which is why in Balochistan, where for a while we were kind of supporting the insurgency, we were never giving them arms or training. What we do is we'll find every Baloch willing to rebel and we'll throw money at them.
Right.
Now, the Indian state systemically, if you tell them we need to organize an assassination, it's simply not that file is not going to go anywhere.
Acha.
So the way it would have been done, if in fact the state did it, is to tell all the existing drug and gun networks who are anyway extremely violent, saying ki bhai, dekh, if you do this, we're definitely not going to hand you over for extradition.
तू मरवा दे कोई बात नहीं हम देख ही नहीं रहे.
हम देख ही नहीं रहे.
हाँ तेरी मर्जी है.
And so, it reduces something on their side. The thing is, we don't want to import problems out here.
Right.
I suspect that is a possibility, but in this case, I doubt even that is a possibility, and I'll tell you why. First, there is no proof. All they keep saying is credible allegations, credible allegations. They never say credible proof. Hey, what is a credible allegation?
अंदर की बात है. Right. But no proof. हाँ. ऐसा तो कुछ भी बात हो अंदर की.
So, and they could have asked the Americans to approach us with the intel and say, भाई देखिए है करके. They didn't even do that. They could have got permission from the Americans to share that intel. वो भी नहीं किया. अब क्या है बताओ.
But
now, even in the Gurpatwant Singh Pannu, there are 4 dramatis personae out here. One is CC1, who is the alleged Indian agent. There is Nikhil Gupta, who's the drug dealer.
Okay.
There is UC1, undercover 1, and there is CS1, who's the confidential source.
Okay.
So confidential source is handling the undercover agent. Now these two have met Nikhil Gupta. Not one of them has met, seen or interacted with this CC1 who's the supposed Indian agent.
Okay.
This could have literally been anyone. This could have been another drug mafia guy coming and saying, देख मैं तेरा केस सब संभाल लूँगा, तू इसको टपका. And see, the way the American plea bargaining system is structured is that for you to get a decent plea, the person you implicate has to be high enough. A big fish has to give you a bigger fish.
Yeah, right. And then you get no term.
Yeah. Well, you get a reduced term
Bro,
at any rate.
Okay, but tell me, so I have 2 questions there. One is, I think Trudeau's stupid, first of all. I think he is completely incapable of leading a country in any form or fashion. But for him to still put himself in such an embarrassing position geopolitically, to pick an enemy that has never been a domestic enemy, to actually implicate another state, a rising power, as a global terrorist or a terror-causing nation or a terror-inciting nation. What has he got to gain from doing that when he could have as well just looked deeply and said, Abhi, this looks like an internal conflict. This does not look like anything anybody else is involved in, right? And 2, for America to soon follow suit very quickly with Pannu, who is an obvious idiot, who even a broken clock is right twice, right? Who might at some point do something stupid because he keeps alleging he will do another Air India or some dumb shit like that. And at least he is the voice for a significant variety of radicalized Khalistanis out in the West, right? Either this is a global agenda, again, I'm getting conspiratorial, or this would seem like India, and Indians are very okay. They're like, हाँ हम कर रहे हैं, हमारे पास इतनी power है, कर ले जो करना है.
But I think we're actually outraged. Indians, not the Indian government. Because I don't think people realize how repulsive the Indian state, because understand, we lost 2 prime ministers to this kind of over-smart behavior.
Right. Both Indira and Rajiv.
Yeah.
Right.
We are in no mood to repeat that kind of shit ever again. I don't think people realize how much institutional revulsion there is to this kind of, khufia action.
Because it generally splashes back.
It always splashes back.
And the country seems to, or at least the state seems to love its leader enough for that to not happen. So this seems like an internal matter, huh?
This is basically drug racket gone wrong.
But why are these countries interested in roping in India in this then?
Well, America really isn't. They're not making a big deal out of it, are they?
Yeah, they first said something about we have intelligence that somebody in the embassy is involved, and then they hushed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't say embassy. They said in India, in the government.
Okay.
And they haven't pursued it
at all.
Really. They're very happy with our investigation because whatever comes out of that investigation will be shared with them.
Fair.
That's it.
And
the Canadians, the Canadian Prime Minister gave a very interesting interview yesterday where he says the reason he went public is to reinforce deterrence because a lot of Sikhs were feeling unsafe. And you see how he's contradicted himself. On one hand, he's cribbing that India made things extremely difficult. On the other, he's saying that it was a really good thing and we did it so that India would feel that it didn't have the impunity to get away with these actions. But even after it was announced, the very next week, another Khalistani was tapko-fied in Canada.
Nobody talked about it.
Even they themselves don't talk about it.
Because this is internal
And
matters.
apparently 2-3 more have since been tupcofied.
Acha, so this is still going on.
So basically, look, Trudeau is a asshole of the nth degree, right?
Yeah.
His father was an asshole. His mother was she was a, what do you call it, swinger. Both mother and father were swingers.
Oh, they were swingers. Fuck yeah.
Self-admitted swingers.
There is a picture of Fidel Castro and Justin Trudeau, and
You
they
never
look
know.
super alike. Yeah, you may never know. There is no way of knowing.
But to be fair,
This conspiracy peddling, huh?
his father also looks as butt ugly as he does.
Oh, acha.
So it
Maybe
could be
that's why
anyone.
the mother was into both of them.
Possibly.
Yeah, right.
And this guy is the lowest level. What was he? He was a bouncer at a bar.
Wait, Justin?
You didn't know that?
No.
Yeah.
His father was a political figure.
He was a bouncer at a bar. He was a ski instructor, and he was a drama teacher.
Okay, fun. This is the New York vibe, by the way. Exactly the New York vibe. Huh.
The only thing he knows is how to play the lowest common denominator identity politics.
That seems to be true from what I understand.
And
of
because he was
Canadian politics.
a bouncer, he understands thuggery very well, which is why a lot of his ability to capture the Liberal Party's base depended on, people never talk about this, but the first election he came to power, moderate Sikh candidates were physically beaten up and evicted from Liberal Party nominations, and it was all the Khalistanis did a full-blown booth capture.
Acha,
And the RCMP were just sitting outside doing nothing.
what is the Election Commission, RCMP?
Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Acha, the police. Fun.